Hi, I'm Jennifer Bardot, and I'm your host today. We're going to be talking about grit. And what does grit stand for? Growth, resilience, intention, and tenacity, which leads me to introducing my guest, Maura. She's a contributing author in Intention, and I'm excited to have you here today. So tell us a little bit about who is Maura.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today. I think like a lot of people, a lot of women, I wear a lot of hats. I'm a therapist in private practice. I'm an adjunct faculty member at Webster. I'm a therapist at St. Louis Children's Hospital with WashU. I'm a yoga instructor. I'm a queer identifying mom of 5. And it goes on and on from there.
Yeah. So to say you're dynamic is one of the words that comes to mind right off the bat. But with all of the hats that you wear, how are you able to do all those things? And you said you're a family of 5.
Family of 5.
Yes. So how are you able to do all those things from a balancing perspective?
It's a daily journey for sure. I have to credit my wife because she absolutely helps allow me to be able to seek out the career opportunities. She is amazing with the kids. She's a first grade teacher. So she's got that part. And, you know, I started as a professional ballet dancer. So way off on the other side of the world, and ended up that not working out due to health reasons, and was totally lost, didn't know where to go. And little by little, I kind of picked up all these things. And so I started in yoga. That was really healing to me. I started teaching that to other people. I got my master's degree in counseling. I started working at the university with the dance department. And so all these things kind of relate and go together, but were never anything that I thought I would be doing or, had that.
And I love that. I think sometimes our society teaches us that, you know, there has to be one linear path and it has to be very clear cut.
Yes.
And a lot of the times it's these different pieces that are interwoven to build that masterpiece puzzle.
Absolutely. And that's completely what my chapter is about. The title is Letting Go of Holding On. Right? That idea of that. We try to control everything. We try to make it happen. And I work with eating disorders. And so you want to talk about some of the most determined, hardworking, perfectionistic people holding on so tightly a lot of times is what ends them up in my office talking to me. And so, you know, it's when I teach yoga, I talk about finding your edge, where in a particular pose, you don't want to push yourself too far where you pull a muscle, but you don't want to just stand there and not do anything for your body. And so how do I find that give and take? How do I do that in life, right? And that's that idea of I have to have intention, but be able to let go and be open to opportunities and relationships and whatever presents itself.
I love how you've taken what you've learned and now you're able to help others from your experiences. And I think so much of life is learned from lessons that we've learned ourselves.
Absolutely. It truly was my oldest daughter. I grew up in a Catholic family, really good at following the rules, right? You tell me to do this, I'm going to do this. Got that part down. Ballet was really great for that. You know exactly what you're supposed to do and everything else is wrong. And that led to being really engaged with anorexia. And all of those things kind of came together. I studied dance my entire life. It was my everything. And then one day I passed out when I was dancing with a company. And when I got to the hospital, the doctor said that my body was eating my heart muscle to stay alive. And that was the end of my dance career. And so not only am I dealing with, oh my gosh, I've done this to myself, but also this thing that I've worked for my entire life is gone. How do I pick myself up from that? And I did. And I, got going. And then I had my daughter and am looking at her. She's 7 years old. And I'm saying, oh my gosh, how can I be telling you to do, speak your truth and stand up and don't let anyone tell you you're wrong, when I realized I'm still not doing that myself, right? So the idea of we have to model it for our children. And that means not just saying it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means doing it. And so that my daughter truly, I think, is the one that, got me out of my eating disorder and really, she doesn't even know this, but made me fight for recovery, and then also made me really own my identity. And I came out in my early 30s because I wanted her, if that was her identity or that was, anyone else, I would expect them to stand up and own that. And I had to do the same thing. But that's hard when you're 30.
Yeah. So that's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
And I hope one day that your daughter is able to learn and know about that gift that she essentially gave you, that awareness, and then you took action and became who you were meant to be.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
Yeah. I hope she can see that. She's starting high school now, and I think about all those struggles that we all had at that time in our life, and I want to prepare her for that and protect her. And then you realize, oh, there's no way through it but through it. She's got to stumble and struggle just like we did too, And so I think if she can do that while recognizing, hey, just by your existence, you helped me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And obviously she has a supportive family behind her.
Yes, she does.
Right. Well, is there any mantras or words of wisdom that you live by to build up such that resilient mindset and intentional path to constantly growing and evolving?
Sure. I think it truly is about trying to stay present, and I'm not always good at it. I teach it. Really hard to do. And I notice it when I'm telling my kids, hurry up, we have to get out of the door. And they're like dragging their feet or they can't find their shoe, the daily,
Yes.
the daily struggles. And I have to pause and say, wait a minute. Okay, if we're 5 minutes late, it's going to be okay. Let me be really present with them, because maybe what they need right now is knowing that I've got them before they start their school day, rather than yelling at them to get them out the door. And so, that applies to all areas of life. And with my patients, being able to be really present, with my family at the end of the day, being able to be really present, for myself, being able to know, hey, I need to say no to this thing because I've got to take care of myself too. So to me, I think that constantly reminding yourself, am I present in this moment, is the most helpful thing.
And I think that is how you're able to probably handle all of those titles, because you do have that utter awareness of living in the moment, knowing your limits, and then honoring the boundaries.
Yeah.
So
It's a work in progress.
Yeah. Well, and as women, we tend to always tackle all the things, and then we have nothing left to give because we're empty. But yet, how do we show up for others if we can't be present and full of energy for ourselves?
Absolutely. And I think in doing that, we are really good at shutting off all the cues. Moms sometimes don't notice they're hungry or go to the bathroom or all the things they need to do because the kids come first. And it's in connecting to our bodies and really being able to slow down and process what I need. Our bodies hold so much wisdom. And so for me, in that practice of mindfulness, that's the full circle moment of I get to use my dance background, I get to use my yoga background. And in my eating disorder, I was not connected at all. And so now connecting, which was really scary in the moment, is how I live my life, right? So challenging yourself to do those things that scare you, which is usually connecting.
Right. And listening and choosing not to go numb or ignoring all the signs.
Yep.
So I love that holistic perspective of not only listening to your mind and your heart and your body, but just all of the things in the senses as well. So
Absolutely.
amazing. So is there anything else you'd like to share about your chapter? I'm so thrilled to have you as a contributing author and intention.
Yeah, I'm trying to think through. Again, my whole thing is also looking at, the phoenix, that idea of you can burn it all down and start again. And so we're open to all these experiences. You check yourself. If that doesn't feel right, can I let it go and start fresh? That's terrifying, but that's what allows us to change and grow and be open to all new opportunities.
I love that. I don't know if it's a metaphor or just that visual that I'm seeing in my head, because I always visual a phoenix, but it's led by a heart, and then you just cut the chains and it flows. So it allows you to fly.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's a lot of different chains that hold us back. And if you can learn to let those go, you can be more present in the moment and move through with life with purpose.
Absolutely. Recognize what they are first. Yeah.
So is there anything else that you would like to share with us today?
Yeah, I think one of the things I talk about in my chapter is this idea of being the good girl, of following the rules, of doing it all right. And I think that's a theme that a lot of women struggle with, of not disappointing people. And I think part of my journey, particularly around coming out in my mid-30s, knowing that I was going to, unfortunately, hurt people, not intentionally, but that's part of the process, and telling people no and letting people decide whether they wanted to get on board or not, but allowing myself just to be, I think is really important. That freed me up to a lot of opportunity. I probably wouldn't be sitting here today, right, if I hadn't allowed myself to disappoint people, which is not my favorite thing.
Right. And I love that you were honest with who you were and comfortable with coming out.
Yeah.
And seeing who was going to have your back and what was going to unfold from the other relationships. So talk about fear of rejection and disappointment and all those things. And it certainly is part of it, right?
Yeah.
That's a work in progress. That was my fear in coming out. And there are definitely people that that's true for. But you can only control yourself and your actions. And so I live from love, and whoever wants to join in can join in.
Right. I always say that you love who you love.
And I love that you loved you to be able to then be able to start truly becoming who you were and allowing everybody to see all of who you were.
And isn't that the hardest?
Absolutely.
We're so good at loving everyone else, right?
Yes. Yeah. And as you mentioned, you decided to come out in your 30s. So a lot of life had happened. A lot of friendships had happened. And I mean, what was that like just from that age perspective? Because obviously that was a number that really resonated with you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I was married to a man at the time. And so I knew that was going to be hurtful. I hated that. That was not what I wanted to do. And everybody knew me as, follow the rule, do the thing, get married, have the kids, buy the house, all of that. This was really going to shake that up and shake up people's perception of who I was and what I was capable of, and both good and bad. And so I think being willing to accept that, being willing to say, yeah, I'm changing and growing even in my 30s, right? I'm deciding to own who I am.
And since that point, what has that been like for you since owning who you are?
Well, so my wife and I got married. We have 5 kids. We call ourselves the Wildwood 7. And it is so chaotic, as you can imagine. And so much love that I never even knew was possible.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, that opening yourself up to more love, what could go wrong?
Right. It's the law of attraction.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Well, that is cool. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And I've enjoyed getting to know you on a personal level. Thrilled to have you as a contributing author in Intention. And thank you for sharing your story and your strength with the world. So I hope you inspire others to love who they love and step into loving themselves as well.
Thank you so much.